So the Cabinet of Pakistan has begun preparing for an influx of refugees in Lahore, a move that India has not made nor offered. We recognize that India has not attacked our faith, and we are still open to communication between the two nations. We are also working with Kashmir to set up a new education program where we will be teaching Islam, but still respecting the different religions in our country. Are there any questions? Yes?
Okay, how will this new education program be implemented?
Currently, we do not have the finances to fully reform our education program, but we will be supporting it through members of our cabinet. And what we are doing is we are implementing a certain regime where we will have certain people devoted to Islam teaching, and they will be offering an interpretation that they have been given to the children. That way we are all on the same page and it can be a uniting force within our country. Yes.
How can you please expand on the respect to other religions and how you intend to ensure that other religions are not infringed upon through your teachings?
I cannot answer that question at this point. Yes.
How can you teach Islam, thus implying that it is what your country intends to have the general population believe without disrespecting other religions and thus denouncing them?
We are currently just using Islam as a uniting force. Since our country is 95% Muslim, there's only 5% other religions in our country currently. We will be... we are still working on the details of our education program. We've been hit with many other crises that we've been dealing with. I will get back to you at another point.
One more question?
Yes.
How do you guys plan to fund the refugee camps and make it a safe and stable place for them to stay?
We have not worked that out just yet.
Thank you. We'll go into EPA next. And if you finish your statement early, I'm automatically just rolling the time over to questions.
Throughout this entirety of the recent crisis that has happened in the Kashmir, India has become the victim. India has the legal right to that of Kashmir due to the instrument of accession, but Pakistani tribesmen have invaded upon this land and have done mass rapes, indiscriminate killings, and all sorts of other atrocities upon a part of India. But India will not be simply bullied. We have put forward a plan in our committee to improve our own military defensive functions. We fear further usurpment from Pakistan, but we really wish to not be so blatantly bullied by Pakistan. It's also a dual nature. With this military, we hope to help the 18 million refugees within our borders, and we're part of a new India that is secular, that is respecting of all religions. We will not allow.
We'll move on to questions.
All right.
How do you plan to support the health and safety of your own citizens for spending all the money on the military to fight Pakistan?
We are not spending all the money on fighting Pakistan, and we are not fighting Pakistan in general. That is a total misconception. We are just preparing for the worst here because, and it's Pakistani tribesmen that have invaded. We're not necessarily fighting. It's purely defensive in nature.
What specific defenses are you implementing?
We are implementing specific training for lots of our military, because our military forces are largely small in number and trained, and we are providing new materials because we don't exactly have the most modern military. So we are modernizing our military and creating defensive borders.
Question?
Yes.
Would you say that this defensive maneuver or attack from the Pakistanis has to do more with the actual land or has to do with the spread of Islam?
I would have to say that it has to do more with the land. I am a Muslim myself that is a proud member of the Indian politics. India is a secular state these days, and that is one of the fundamental values on which we founded our nation. We believe that the Pakistani politicians are simply using religion as a wedge issue, as a justification to annex Kashmir in such a predatory manner.
Thank you, Delegate. We'll have the United States next.
The United States has reassured our position as a beacon of democracy. We have officially increased supplies and resources to help the people of West Berlin. The people of Berlin have suffered for some time now, and the allocation of an additional $250 million will allow us to continue to supply them with humanitarian aid and the ability to establish a strong free market economy. I would like to stress that this is only the start to the rebuilding of a once great continent. Furthermore, I would like to see professional and appropriate diplomatic interactions resume within the international community. Thank you.
You imply that Europe is no longer a great continent. Are you trying to make Europe great again, or?
I wouldn't put it that way. I just would like to. Europe has been destroyed with the horrors that was World War II, and I would just like to see them be able to recover in the quickest and most effective way possible.
Would you say that by you attempting to push a certain ideology onto East Germany that is infringing on sovereignty, which the United States is so wholeheartedly for?
I mean, at this point, West Berlin is Allied occupied territory, and thus we have right to supply it with whatever needs that the people need. Or, you know what I mean. Yeah.
What do you define as professional and appropriate diplomatic action?
I think that goes without saying that we know what it's like to be professional. We know what it is that needs to be resumed. Other questions?
One more question.
Yes.
How will you ensure that this isn't just another imperialistic action by the United States?
I don't see how providing humanitarian aid is imperialistic.
That's the same thing you said about Cuba, and then look what happened.
This is helping the people of Europe. And I do not see why the press has any objections to helping people in need.
Thank you, Delegate. We will now take the United Kingdom.
Hello, thank you all for being here. I will now summarize what the United Kingdom Cabinet has gotten done and been discussing so far. So the Cabinet as a whole has decided to shift our focus inwards so that we can solve our country's domestic issues. We've decided to do this because so that we can finally bring our country back to its former state after the devastation war caused. And we are also discussing our place in the India-Pakistani conflict. As of now, we are thinking we want to remain neutral because we do not want to pick a side since we are no longer, they're no longer our colonies, and we are also calling for a ceasefire. Thank you. Yes?
What about your Palestinian mandate? Because as I see him, as of right now, it's just spiraled out of control.
We are trying to remain neutral. We do not want to pick a side. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you plan on remaining neutral as long as is possible, or if it starts to affect your country, will you get involved? Because you also intended to remain neutral once America split from you, but in the War of 1812, it didn't last long.
Sorry, I believe I misspoke. By what I mean by remaining neutral is that we right now want to kind of moderate some sort of peace talks so these countries can give their grievances and we can find a way for them to come to a conclusion that is peaceful. We want to avoid war. But by neutral, I mean we're not picking a side and we're also not sending in any military because we do not want to do that. Yes?
Would the United Kingdom provide any sort of humanitarian aid, if needed, to either Pakistan or India?
I don't see why humanitarian aid would be needed this time, but we would definitely be open to doing it if it were needed.
One more question.
Yes?
Did the United Kingdom not have any regard for the suffering under communism in Eastern Europe?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Does the United Kingdom not have any regard while they're focusing on their domestic issues for those suffering under communism in Eastern Europe?
We, of course, have regard for those people, but at this point, we believe that our country can not get involved with international affairs, and we cannot have a place in the world if we have conflict within. We need to rebuild our country so that we can once again aid people who are in need.
Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you.
We'll now have the USSR.
Our goal of the Soviet Union is to bring Germany back from the ruins of war. In the name of the Socialist Brotherhood, we shall use the industrial might of the Soviet Union to restore prosperity to Eastern European countries. We are committed to the path of communism and will support other communist countries, especially if they are in need.
How do you define countries in need?
It's the countries that are currently have economic problems, especially after the war.
Couldn't it be said that all countries have economic problems on some level after the war?
Yes, but we're mainly focusing on communist countries.
How do you plan to help other countries when your country currently has many people starving and toiling away?
We are building up our industrialization and helping to bring our own economy up first and then helping others.
Does the Soviet Union support allowing countries to determine their future on their own?
That would depend. It generally, yes, but in terms of Germany, maybe not because of the problems they have caused.
How can you say that you are restoring prosperity to Eastern Europe when there are thousands of people suffering from extreme famine after the war, especially in East Berlin?
That is why we are building up our economic and industrial programs. We are trying to boost our economy and afterwards boost other countries' economies.
One more question.
What is the USSR's opinion of the United States implementing the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe?
The Soviet Union is not very happy about that. We take it as an insult to our goal of communism and the spread of communism, and we think that the U.S. has insulted us and our beliefs.
Thank you, Delegate. We will finish with the delegate from Israel.
Good evening. The Israeli cabinet has been working tirelessly and is proud to announce that she has drafted a Declaration of Independence. This declaration outlines the state of Israel's desires to exist as a diverse, peace-loving democracy in Eretz Yisrael that optimistically looks towards a future of a progressive state through the implementation of infrastructure in agriculture, in the Negev, and national education standards. As a Jewish homeland, these Articles of Independence are a direct reflection of the Jewish values of equality and fairness. The state of Israel is a peace-loving nation who strives for her presence in the Middle East to bring success and fortune to not only the region, but to the international community as a whole. At this time, the Israeli cabinet appeals to the United Nations to receive our nation to the community of nations.
Yes.
How can you say that Israel it believes is peace loving and believes in equality when hundreds of villages have been ethnically cleansed and native Arabs have been forced to flee?
At this point in time, there has been absolutely no ethnic cleansing, and there has been no force of Arabs out of their country, as Israel has not yet been established as a state, and there is no acting government in the land, so that has not happened. Yes.
Do you really see peace possible with the Arab world not supporting their statehood?
The Israeli cabinet is hoping that through her recognition of the need for an Arab state, that and hopefully in the future the support of other international bodies, that one day it will be possible for not only Arab nations and a Jewish nation to coexist, but to really share a society and to live in harmony and to work together to better themselves and the Middle East as a whole.
One more question.
Yes.
How do you plan to keep both Arab nations and the potential Israeli nation in peace talks and not at any sort of point of war?
At this point, the Israeli cabinet has decided that they are not going to strike first in terms of any military action, and would hope that the way that the 1947 UN Partition Plan, Resolution 181, is set up, the Israeli cabinet plans to abide by this partition and is hoping that slowly the Arab nation will also come to accept this partition, and if not, will be willing to engage in peace talks instead of taking military action. And if at that point they do choose to take military action, we will look towards the United Nations and other international powers to support us in peace talks.
Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you.
Delegates from the Cabinet, please follow our staffer here. Follow our staffer into the green room. You will have access to the press.